movies are highbrow, some movies are lowbrow.
Welcome to Highbrow Lowbrow. I'm your host, Josh Kirschenbaum.
I'm Cooper Gagan.
Each week we pick a topic and talk about two movies that fit that topic. One highbrow, one lowbrow. And this week the topic is
Body swap. I got you. I got you, Josh.
On the highbrow side, we've got Being John Malkovich.
And on the lowbrow, we have Freaky Friday.
Cooper, why don't you tell us a little bit about these movies?
All right, in Freaky Friday, a teenage girl and her mother are cursed to switch bodies until they learn to empathize with each other. The only problem is that it's the day before the mother's wedding and an important audition for the girl's band. Everyone needs to figure out how to switch back before things get a little too Oedipal. This was released in 2003, directed by Mark Waters, written by Heather Hach?
What?
H-A-C-H.
H-A-C-H? Hatch?
Hach. Yeah, right?
Oh, that's
now
tough.
You're doing it. Okay.
That's tough. That's just, I feel like we're being really mean.
This is already getting off to a rough start.
I know. And I think this movie's really well written, so I feel really bad that we're butchering the name of the writer, too.
I know. And it's tough because there's also Leslie Dixon, who's really getting introed real late here.
It's a bummer.
Okay, based on the book by Mary Rogers, which I didn't know this was a book. I just knew it had been adapted into a movie before.
Right.
And it stars Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Chad Michael Murray, also known as One Tree Hill.
True. And I just want to Mark Harmon, because I think he's very good in this movie. And we'll get to that later.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good people in this movie.
Oh, we're gonna have to cut it down, but when we get to the cast, we're just gonna be us geeking out about how freaking great every single person in this movie is.
Yeah, I know, right? All right, and then Being John Malkovich, an unemployed puppeteer finds a portal that allows people to inhabit John Malkovich's brain for 15 minutes. He wants to use it to become a famous puppeteer, his office crush wants to monetize it, and his girlfriend wants to use it to bang his office crush. Everyone needs to learn to leave John Malkovich alone. Being John Malkovich was released in 1999, directed by Spike Jonze, written by Charlie Kaufman, and stars John Cusack, Cameron Diaz, and Catherine Keener.
And John Malkovich.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah,
That's a really big one.
I think he might not have come up in like the top IMDb credits.
To be fair, he is fourth billed, I think.
Yeah.
Which is fair to what the movie is.
I usually do like top three.
Yeah. But I feel like we could make an exception for John Malkovich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should probably put him in the billing for every movie out of respect.
But when I was doing a little just Wikipedia research before this, and apparently John Malkovich was very nervous about doing this movie.
I could see that.
Because, I mean, first of all, it was written for John Malkovich. They didn't mess around with finding a different actor, which is crazy. They just got him right away. And the crazy, so he was like, well, if this movie flops, not only am I in it, it's my name in the title. So that's not good.
Yeah.
But if this movie really works, I'm going to be associated with this movie for the rest of my life. So it was like this huge risk that he was taking. But he was freaking game as hell.
Worked out. I mean, if you're going to take that risk with anybody, you do it with Spike Jonze and Charlie Kaufman.
Right. Who, at this point, this would have been Spike's first movie and Charlie Kaufman's first movie.
Really?
Yeah, Spike Jonze is a music video director.
Well, he did a lot of skate videos.
Yeah.
He did Fully Flared, which was one of my favorite skate videos to watch. It has this really long intro that's like 20 minutes of just slow-mo without any speeding up at all. And there's a lot of slow-mo explosions. And it's a really interesting stylistic move that it's like pure slow-mo to the point where it gets boring and then gets exciting again. It's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's very Spike Jonze. I mean, he also, the Weezer music video where they're playing and then just like as they go, it's pretty clear that they're lip syncing and they get more and more obvious as they go on. The Fatboy Slim video where Christopher Walken is dancing and flying.
Yeah.
I mean, Spike Jonze rules. I feel like, to me, Being John Malkovich is such a, it's such a moment of that like MTV alt indie kind of like cool skater like aesthetic.
Yeah, because Spike Jonze is, I don't know if he was involved in Big Brother, but he definitely is part of like the Jackass posse.
Yes.
He's the old man, the old woman.
Yeah, and he's a producer on that. I mean, that's just that, it was that 90s thing, and I feel like this is sort of the end of that. I mean, because then, Spike Jonze obviously transitions to doing these more, working with Charlie Kaufman and making these more artistic films. I mean, the Jackass guys, they kind of age out and start doing movies.
Except for they're going to do one again.
MTV, and which should have been out by now. I cannot believe it got pushed to February.
Really?
I'm really
Oh,
sad.
that should have been a holiday release.
That was legitimately my most anticipated movie this year. And this year had movies two by Ridley Scott, by Wes Anderson, by a Coen brother.
Yeah.
Not both, but one, which is still a huge deal for me.
Yeah. Big year for sibling duos breaking out because there's also one Wachowski.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that both Wachowskis Orkowskis. I forgot that both of them weren't coming back from Matrix 4. Another movie I'm very excited about.
Yeah. And when we saw No Time to Die, the trailer for Jackass brought the house down, or maybe it was just us four laughing so loud I couldn't tell what anybody else was doing.
I think it was the men. I think it was all the men. I turned to Jess, who was with us, and I think she just looked into like all the men in the theater were laughing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of those things. I don't understand it because I think every iteration of like a Jackass style thing that isn't Jackass is terrible.
Yeah. No, it's because they are actually very smart. Like the way they make the stunts is smart.
Yeah.
I remember there's like the one where it's because like Bam is afraid of snakes or something. They like design a stunt around his greatest fear.
Right. They put him in a wind tunnel and he thinks he's just getting hit by wind and they throw him into a cage with the wind and then lock him in with the snake.
Yeah.
That's freaking brilliant.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. They're just very, and then my favorite one ever is the love letter where it's just the,
written on the wall.
Is the Valentine written on the wall and the text gets smaller and smaller. So they lean in and the giant punching glove hits them.
I would never get tired if you would just hit with giant boxing gloves.
Boxing gloves is the word.
Always works.
It's great.
So here's my very tortured segue back to talking about the movies.
Oh yeah.
Just like all the Jackass imitators are bad. I think Being John Malkovich kind of set the tone for this kind of very arch, meta, surreal kind of like style of storytelling.
Well, it's really Charlie Kaufman's signature style.
Right.
Because this feels a lot like Adaptation.
Yeah. And
feels a lot like, I don't know, Eternal Sunshine.
And I think pretty much every imitator of his has been not as successful.
Who would you consider an imitator of his?
Well, my thinking of this is a lot of script. I'm going a little bit inside baseball here for you guys at home, but there's a list of the best unproduced scripts every year called the Blacklist that goes around Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And every year there's like a very Charlie Kaufman-esque thing on it. And like if those come out, they either are not very good or they just don't get made.
And I think for a while it was kind of progressing to being very much favoring Charlie Kaufman-esque, like very arch.
Right. And I think what people forget about Charlie Kaufman, and when I realized watching this movie, is that yes, he's very meta, very surreal. Like you mentioned, Adaptation, Eternal Sunshine. I mean, if you've ever seen Synecdoche, New York, obviously it's a hugely strange movie.
Love that movie.
But Charlie Kaufman isn't just good at coming up with weird ideas.
He's also very funny and makes really tightly plotted movies, weirdly.
Yes, and exactly. He's not. It's my same rant about, writing isn't just coming up with an idea, dialogue. It's story and character and structure. And I think Charlie Kaufman is one of the greatest at all of that. I mean, a movie like this, like Being John Malkovich, would be an SNL skit if he didn't have the ability to draw out these characters and make this really about something emotional and elemental about like being alive right now.
Yeah,
it's super impressive.
Charlie Kaufman is definitely a like virtuoso screenwriter. Like if anybody has mastered the medium of screenwriting for film, at least it's Charlie Kaufman.
Right, and it's weird. To make a weird comparison, he's almost like Dan Harmon.
Yeah,
Dan Harmon, who has mastered sitcoms, so now all he can do is want to destroy sitcoms from the inside out, kind of, and to simplify his whole thing. And Charlie Kaufman now is, I think, like, if I could intuit what he's doing right now, it feels like he did Being John Malkovich and Eternal Sunshine, and now he's like, will only do things that are really strange.
What I was going to say, he reminds me of like Vladimir Nabokov, where he had just mastered the novel so much that he started just setting weird writing prompts for himself, like Lolita.
Right.
Lolita was essentially a writing prompt, like, can I make a novel about the most unlikable character and get the audience on their side?
Yeah. I did not know that. That's very interesting. I mean, I'm sure Charlie Kaufman knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Malkovich is great. It's so weird that he's the pick here. I mean, obviously he's like, I don't think I think he means the same to the culture now as he did when they were filming this movie, except that Being John Malkovich did not exist when they were filming the movie.
Well, I think he is perfect because of that nature of him being famous for being a fancy actor.
Yeah.
In things that people haven't necessarily seen.
Right. And the movie, I think, it used it very effectively because I think people are attracted not just to the idea of being someone, which is a kind of a super weird thing to untangle, but just because it like the fame, you're somebody. It doesn't matter that they're an actor, but you're just somebody who matters. And I think so much of this movie is about people who feel like they don't matter.
Yeah.
And Being John Malkovich, the action allows them to be someone, even if it's an actor who they couldn't name one of the movies they were in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this movie gets into something that I was thinking about, which is how much maybe artistic or intellectual success is still tied to your body.
Yeah.
And what is John Cusack's name in this? Craig actually has the skills to become a famous puppeteer. He just needs the body of a famous person to be able to do it.
Right. He actually, I mean, the movie does make the case that he's very talented at this thing that no one cares about.
Yeah.
You like puppets. We've talked about this.
Yeah. I like the Muppets a lot.
Yeah.
I like the Fraggles a lot. Oh, don't get me started on the complex ecosystem that is Fraggle Rock. You got your Doozers. You got your Fraggles. You got your... I think they're called Gorkins or something. I'm running on.
You set yourself up.
The bad person is a giant sentient trash pile.
Okay.
Her minions are two little rats that appear to live inside of her.
Okay. This is all very interesting.
I don't know if it is.
I don't know.
I was really just trying to piss you off by talking about Fraggle Rock.
Yeah, I'm not a puppet guy. This is not puppet talk. I can't think. Well, I guess I just never really grew up like the Muppets were not my childhood thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sesame Street a little bit, but I just didn't have the Muppets. So I see puppets, I just think that they're kind of silly, and which is why it's very good for Craig to be doing them, because he's this like, he's not like a tortured artist, but like he's very like hoity-toity about it.
Well, yeah, it is an art form that is, I guess, kind of left in the past. It is really hard to be respected as a puppeteer, which Maxine brings up immediately when she just starts dunking on him
nonstop.
Yeah.
I love their I mean Maxine as a character is so fascinating.
Yeah, that she is just kind of this force of evil, but in like a very she's really very consistent.
I think evil is, if I can make a very small difference, like I don't think evil's quite the word, because I don't think she...
Or selfishness.
Yeah, it's like she likes causing harm, or she knows that like causing harm can help her.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange, like she's like so willing to just completely dunk on Craig.
She's kind of a chaos agent.
But she does correctly intuit that he's like flirting with her.
Yeah.
Whether or not he'd act on cheating on Lottie, she very quickly catches on that that's what she's doing, and rightfully kind of rips on him until he can help her.
Yeah. I love the part where she turns on a dime when she finds out that he can control Malkovich.
Right. It's the lines like he can control Malkovich, I can control him.
Yeah.
It's so smart.
There's a lot of lines that are very on the nose like that, but then you forgive it because you just need to get that out there.
Right, because it's such a crazy... I mean, that's the strength of the screenplay, is that, I mean, the dialogue is so like odd and mannered, then like when you need to just drop out like an exposition line like that, it just works. Like the mythology of how the door works, then the door into Malkovich's brain works and all that.
Yeah.
It's said so matter-of-factly, but it just kind of lands.
Or even stuff like Cameron Diaz yelling, "Help, I'm trapped in a cage."
Yeah.
Which is, you don't really need to say that.
She's great in this movie.
She's very good.
I remember, I hadn't seen this movie since high school, and what I remember the most was Catherine Keener is insanely good in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think she got a lot of like the lion's share of like a lot of the awards attention. That John Cusack's like pretty good. It's like the movie's not really about him by the end. Malkovich is brilliant.
Yeah.
And then that like Cameron Diaz was like, like she holds her own, but like she's so good in this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It's like a really hard role, because I remember her being more of a victim the first time, and this time I think she's much more like in it, in this weird toxic dynamic.
Yeah, that reminds me of something. Talking about how good Malkovich is, I was thinking about how he's a great choice for this just because he is such a good actor, and this is a particularly hard acting prompt, which is to play somebody else in your body.
Right.
Which reminds me of what I thought of Freaky Friday, which is that Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis are also doing great jobs at this very difficult acting prompt, which is especially impressive because Lohan's like 15 in this.
Yeah, I think they filmed it when she was 15, 16-ish.
Yeah, it's a really crazy good acting. In some parts, she's actually kind of doing a better job than Jamie Lee Curtis. Although Jamie Lee Curtis is great. I love her.
Right. I think I wouldn't go that far, but there's no moment where I was like grading Lindsay Lohan on a curve. There's no point when I was like, oh, that's good for a teenager. There's the whole time it was just like, I'm in this movie.
She's just good. She's selling it as being Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. And I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, though, I think is like, I mean, I'm trying not to like oversell it, but I think she's so freakishly good in this movie.
She's a great actress.
Like I watching the scene at the end where it's her, it's Lindsay Lohan in her body giving a speech at her wedding rehearsal.
I almost cried at that scene.
freaking did.
You did?
Yeah. I mean, trying to tell her mother in her mother's body that it's okay for her to move on from her dead husband and that her daughter supports her in that context, which by the way, incredible feat of writing as well to like plot.
Oh yeah.
To plot it to that location and to like have all those stakes and to write that speech. And then Jamie Lee Curtis absolutely just acts the freaking shit out of that.
I know. It's really good. I know. I texted my friend. I said, "Oh my God, I'm watching Freaky Friday. I'm getting choked up." And she was like, "At Freaky Friday?" I'm like, they just love each other and they want each other to be happy.
No, it's good. And to get into the highbrow, lowbrow of it, like that's what a lowbrow movie like can do. That's what
The feel good moment.
Yeah, when you're really sticking to the story structure, when you're really leading to the moment that you know is coming,
Yeah.
you can just deliver like such a great just delight. Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, to directly compare these two movies, the way it handles the end of the body swap is interesting. Because let's see, how does it end in Malkovich? It's that there's there's the whole group of people who want to be in Malkovich permanently, and they force Craig out.
Yeah.
And then he goes back in, he's stuck in the kid, which is very dark.
Basically a horror movie by the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I also thought, oh my God, poor Malkovich, because he gets destroyed at the end of the movie. So there really isn't a neat switch back moment, which
No.
Freaky Friday does have, because you have to have it because that's what you want the whole time.
Yeah. If we could get very abstract about the theme of it, Freaky Friday, this theme of, walk a mile in someone else's shoes, see who they are. Like, like you may see you may have more in common than you think, like that, all of that theme, which I think Freaky Friday hits again and again really well. There's so many scenes of just like, them seeing things from a new perspective, seeing things they wouldn't have seen otherwise. Whereas, it's strange. Being John Malkovich kind of has the same theme, but from almost like a predatory standpoint of like,
They never learn anything really from being in Malkovich.
They all want to become not themselves.
They want, yeah.
It's like Malkovich. They don't want, like, Craig doesn't want to be Malkovich so he can be an actor. He wants to be Malkovich so that Maxine will like him, and which is also kind of Lottie, similar reasons, but also just because she feels like somebody.
Yeah. And then, I have the note that Being John Malkovich, it's about being unhappy in your body. It's about being unhappy in your body in a way that Freaky Friday is not. Because Freaky Friday, they both want to be in their bodies and they're forced out of it and they're trying to get back. And Being John Malkovich is all about people trying to escape their bodies and going into John Malkovich, who is just available.
Yeah, he's just the guy.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault. Being John Malkovich is not like it's not really about being John Malkovich.
Yeah, it's about having John Malkovich's body for 15 minutes.
And what that does to yourself.
Yeah.
Interesting thing to notice, I'm not going to dig in too much because it's not my lane, but the scene where Lottie first goes in and she's like so taken by being like specifically in a man's body.
Yeah.
At first it very much reads as a trans allegory.
Well, she says, "I think I'm trans."
Basically, yeah. I don't think she says that exactly.
She says, "I think I'm transsexual," which is just a term we don't really use anymore.
Right.
But she does explicitly say that she thinks she's transgender.
Right. And the movie gets away from that. I did a little bit of research.
I was a little nervous.
I mean, the movie does a good job of staying in its lane, I think, and having this sort of representation without, speaking out of line. Because I mean, Charlie Kaufman is a cisgendered white man, and I think he knows what he should and should not be able to speak about.
Well, I was nervous because 90s comedies have a real tough time dealing with any LGBT plot lines and really has a problem dealing with any trans plot lines.
Oh yeah, I mean we've
just
talked
in terms
about,
of not understanding how it works or anything.
Oh yeah, or going for the cheapest worst laugh or the most like damaging laugh.
Yeah, and conflating a lot of groups that aren't really the same thing other than
Exactly.
just not being straight.
Yeah, and I think to qualify a little bit, I won't claim to be an expert in any of this, but from what I read and just from doing a little bit of Googling, it seemed like Being John Malkovich does a good job of having that theme in there, of being uncomfortable in your body, of finally feeling like yourself, of a lot of these things that can often read as trans allegories and trans stories, without making it the focus of the whole thing or without pushing that metaphor too far so that it falls apart.
Yeah, and also because immediately Craig has a reaction of just yelling at her, saying she's crazy, but then he is immediately revealed to be a monster within maybe 2 scenes.
Right.
So the movie definitely positions itself as not on Craig's side, which I was happy for.
Right. And then the movie does end with, I was going to say spoilers, but come on, you're listening to the podcast. Get used to it. And
I like how now you're berating our audience for something they haven't done.
I'm kind of berating myself too. I'm coming in real hot.
Yeah.
With Lottie and Maxine, together.
Right.
It also ends in a lesbian relationship.
Although I'm not going to get into it too much because I don't know that much about the topic, but it is, I don't know how the movie is positioning itself with her thinking she's a trans person and then realizing she's a lesbian. It's kind of like conflating those in a way.
That's true.
I'm just going to say I don't know how that reads.
That's true. Because it's very possible if you follow the metaphor too literally, then it goes into problematic territory. Because also then she likes being Malkovich, but then it sort of feels like she just likes the power of being a Malkovich, and then I don't know. I would be very interested. I'm sure it's out there. Like a reading of the film or an essay of the film specifically from a queer lens. There'd probably be. They would probably speak to it better than we have. Honestly, you know what? Let's just talk about things that no one could object to. Lindsay Lohan, very good.
Yeah, Lindsay Lohan. She's really good in this movie. I mean, is this like her first non-Disney movie? Is this a Disney movie?
This is a Disney movie.
Yeah.
Which I say confidently just because it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Obviously Parent Trap was the...
Oh, yeah, she's younger than that.
Right. And then this, I think she's in some I remember there was she had these Disney original movies.
Weirdly, also a tough acting prompt.
Oh, Parent Trap?
Yeah. Two characters. She came in real hot just doing hard roles.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like people forget how talented Lindsay Lohan was in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is also why people fixated on her so much when she was kind of having a tough time.
Yeah.
Is that she had so much promise and then went so far off the rails.
Yeah, and I don't, like that moment with Lindsay Lohan was so, she really was like a phenomenon. I feel like Freaky Friday was so huge, and then I don't think Herbie for Fully Loaded.
I don't think that blew up really.
That wasn't really big, but it was culturally, people were talking about it a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe because it was targeted towards middle schoolers, and I was in middle school at the time.
I think Herbie was also in a time period where we were just remaking a lot of kind of 70s properties, and our parents were grumping about it.
And she was in all of them, and so I guess it was she was the face of the new redone generation.
Yeah, and I guess that's what this movie is too. It was a 60s movie.
Yeah, and then there was and then I really felt like there wasn't a lot. We're forgetting Mean Girls, obviously.
Oh yeah,
that's why it's
the adult. Well, not adult, but late teens.
It only comes out, I think, a year or two after Freaky Friday. Also, same director, Mark Waters.
Oh,
who's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that was sort of the phenomena of you get this Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and Mean Girls of we basically all grew up with Lindsay Lohan, and she just was so good in all of it. And then obviously, had a lot of tough time afterwards, and it's kind of it's not great.
Yeah. Speaking of 2003 generally as a time period, there's a lot of kind of very 2003 stuff in here. Chad Michael Murray has a Von Dutch shirt at one point, which I found fun to see. And then there's especially this whole thing about, remember there was this resurgence of rock bands?
Yeah.
It was the Strokes, the Hives, and the Vines.
I'm glad you brought up the Hives, because I literally cheered when Lindsay Lohan mentioned oh, you listen to the Hives? And I was like, yes!
I remember that. This is also another movie that I've seen maybe 20 times with my sister, so I remember that line very well. But yeah, I feel like that. Also, I feel like the Hives are maybe the least well remembered band of that kind of little mini trend.
Because the Strokes kind of became a pitchforky institution.
Yeah,
and
the Vines are not really remembered. Maybe it's just that I still listen to some of the albums.
I think the Hives are in this weird liminal space of everyone remembers they existed and were part of that time, but no one knows any songs that they did.
Yeah, so then I guess the question is, who is more forgotten, the Vines or the Hives?
I think the Vines
were a better band.
But that's the thing. I think if you're into music, you probably still remember the Vines, the ones you know.
Yeah, Highly Evolved, very good album.
Is that the Vines?
Yes.
Good. Okay, I'm
There's a really good music cue in the OC with Ride.
That's great. I love the OC.
Yeah, as I much mentioned in every single episode.
It feels like I associate the OC with this period too, the Lindsay Lohan years. I don't know. I think
when did the OC come out?
OC came out 2004.
So that makes sense.
Would have been around that time. I don't know. Now I'm just thinking nostalgic about middle school and everything. But it is fun that like, Freaky Friday feels so emblematic of that era. Everyone's got, Lindsay Lohan's dressed this kind of like basically as Avril
The
Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne look. Yeah.
And they're doing the punk rock
It was
stuff.
a really weird time for music, but not a bad time for music. Just a time that everyone was kind of hailing as a new resurgence of rock music, and it just did not last.
Right, and it's kind of a shame because like I think there's still rock bands. It's kind of a little different now, but like all that really came out of that was sort of Foo Fighters. They're the only ones who kind of lasted longer out then.
They were already kind of old by then because Foo Fighters is a super group.
Right. It was Dave Grohl's second band.
Also speaking of the music, I think that the band in the movie is actually not bad. Their lyrics are really bad, but as a band, they're pretty fun. It's
good. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of School of Rock.
Yeah.
In that, like, you grade on a curve a little bit, but it's actually kind of fun.
Yeah, and because it's always a really hard prompt in any movie to show somebody who is creative and you tell the audience that they're good and then actually show what they make. But this is a teenager band, so I don't need them to be virtuosos.
Right. It's the, you can make your character the best poet in the world, but don't you ever have them read their poetry.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good, and I like it, and it's... I mean, I even kind of like the Lindsay Lohan song at the end. Which is just I think a single they had for her that they shoved in there. Okay, question: is it insane if you're getting married to have your daughter's band like perform at your wedding?
That sounds nice to me.
I know my first thought was like
depends on what kind of band. If it's like a black metal band,
maybe not. Maybe they just do one song. In that case.
The tough part is maybe the harder part is if they're really bad and they want to play at your wedding, that's a tough situation.
Okay. I was thinking that it was like super weird. Like someone like, oh, I can't believe it's this thing they have to accept for the movie. But now I'm thinking like, it's Jamie Lee Curtis's second marriage. She seems like she's like a pretty like driven career woman, that she's coming at this from a pretty like, she's not like bridezilling about it, a little more like.
It is a quite big wedding for a second marriage very soon after your husband died.
It's not soon. Do we know the time frame?
I thought it was like 3 years.
Oh, you're probably right.
I think they mentioned the timeline at one point.
But it is like, now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? It might be kind of really sweet to have your kids performing at the wedding of like your remarriage to like sort of invite the new, like I'm sort of like arguing against my own snark that I just put down. Like
also because when you're a young artist like that, any gig is a good gig.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying they're wrong to take the gig.
Trying to take away their small
business
iota of success.
My
small business.
A band is like a small business.
Yeah,
there's only like 4 of you, unless you're Arcade Fire.
That sounds like an indie band album title.
The small business.
A band is like a small business. Oh, the small business does sound like The National or something.
That it feels like a parody band, or like something that would have like one album that got like an EP that Pitchfork likes and then an album that Pitchfork hates. That's the small business.
Yeah.
Speaking of that wedding, the reason I wanted to bring up Mark Harmon at the beginning is because Mark Harmon's big speech at the end of this movie is fucking great. To Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he's just like, when she's kind of freaking out because it's not Jamie, it's Lindsay Lohan, and he's just like, I know what this is. I'm so on board with it. Like, it's just nice that like, I know. I feel like movies a lot of times when they're this plotty, there's reveal after reveal of people being shitty. And the really great wonder of this movie is the more you learn about every person, the better they are.
Yeah.
And that's really, really sweet. And I did not anticipate that. I remember the movie being a little snarkier and a little more cringe comedier, but it's very, very nice. Like the jokes you get that surprise you are people being better than you expect.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think of what the big like banner moments from the trailer are. I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis shopping with Lindsay Lohan inside of her.
Yeah, the dress.
Which kind of got me into thinking about the direct comparison between these two movies again, which is kind of what do you do as soon as you find out that you have this new body? Mm-hmm. And it is kind of the lowbrow move to, you do all the things that you couldn't do in your old body.
Right.
Which is drive, use credit cards, whatever. And then in John Malkovich, I mean, I guess it's have sex with your coworker's girlfriend.
Right, find validation, but it's a false validation, and your soul slowly erodes.
Yeah, but then in John Malkovich, it is interesting because they don't immediately have control over his body.
Right, only
Craig ever really does.
Because he's a puppeteer, which is one of those...
I like that.
It's very clever. I think Charlie Kaufman is definitely helped here by making things as wacky as they are.
Yeah.
Like you can elide things like that. Like, oh, how do you do that? Oh, he's a puppeteer. You know, like the monkey that the flashback to the monkey's past.
That was so funny.
Right, like that's
when they
crazy.
call him by his name, it is the funniest.
Right. There's a whole thing where you like see a flashback for a chimpanzee to show how she's gonna the chimpanzee is gonna help Cameron Diaz, and that's insane for a movie that is often emotionally very real.
Yeah.
But it kind of when you're so good at tone and the tone is so strange, like this weird combo of being like very mundane and very surreal, it helps you get through that story shit like really well.
Yeah, and then the funny thing about the puppeteer, him being a puppeteer as a character, is that when I first saw it, I was kind of thinking, oh, this is just weird twee job that only exists because it's like a kind of an indie goofy movie. And then it really pays off that he has to be a puppeteer. It matters that he's a puppeteer, and I like that.
Oh yeah, it's very, I mean, and it's a great little combo because I mean, you're right, it is a little tweet, but also
but then it's not because it
matters.
is the reason why he's able to do this.
And that's like the whole theme of the movie. It's this great combo of working effectively in the screenplay and being kind of fun and just being like, it's like window dressing that's also functional.
Yeah. Also, now that we're talking about it, I guess this movie isn't really technically a body swap because John Malkovich doesn't go in anybody's body.
No, more of a just changing bodies.
Body takeover?
Just body stuff.
Body stuff.
Is that body double?
I'm thinking body double.
And body heat.
I really want to do body double sometime. That movie is wild.
I do not know the difference between body heat and body double.
They're very different.
I know they are, but I do not know the difference. One of them is an erotic thriller starring...
Body Double is like a Corman movie, I think.
Is it?
Or is it De Palma? It might be a De Palma movie.
It feels like a De Palma movie. I would love to do a De Palma movie because I have endless thoughts.
We should do Phantom of the Paradise because I've never seen it and it looks crazy.
Sure, Phantom of the Paradise and Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, Phantoms?
Yeah,
okay.
Movies about phantoms. Movies about phantoms of.
And we'll record it in a Rolls-Royce Phantom.
No. I don't have any money.
We're not going to buy it.
We'll just find one.
We're going to get sponsored by Rolls-Royce.
If we get sponsored by Rolls-Royce, we can record in this Phantom.
You know who Rolls-Royce is missing as a demo is podcast listeners.
Right. Yes. If only they could reach that demo, they could finally get their their struggling business off the ground.
Yeah. It's MeUndies. It's now I'm blanking on every single other podcast advertiser.
Quip, Stamps.com, Movie.
I was going to say On It, but that's really only one podcast.
HelloFresh.
Yeah, and then Rolls-Royce.
Yeah, I just want to point out all the businesses I just listed, not sponsors of ours, but we would accept their money and we would sell out in a second. And our prices are very low. I think if you gave me like $9, I'd devote like 30 minutes of airtime to that.
Yeah, it would be Being John Malkovich versus MeUndies.
Right. And then we would let them decide if they're highbrow or lowbrow. And we would argue for John Malkovich being lowbrow if MeUndies wanted to be highbrow.
Yeah. Whatever is the best for your undies is what this is.
Yeah, I do unironically like MeUndies. Not a plug. I own them.
I'm wearing them.
I don't know if I'm wearing them, but I might be. I have enough. I don't know.
Show us the undies.
You just know what pair of underwear you put on today?
I have
off the top
two
of your head?
brands of underwear. I have a bunch of MeUndies and I have a bunch of the Mack Weldons, which are also a podcast brand.
I'm just saying, how do you know that you're not wearing the Mack Weldons?
Because I picked them out in the morning.
And you remember? I don't know. I just feel like I just kind of grab what's. So I'm not making conscious underwear decisions.
I have a tiered underwear drawer. So I do my laundry on Sundays, and then I stack all of my underwear in order of which I like them. So I got MeUndies. And then I have kind of like my B tier MeUndies, which are like the ones that don't have the fly that I don't like because I got them out of the blind package. And then I'm getting into my Mack Weldons. And then I'm getting into like my old Mack Weldons that are like kind of like worn out. And then I'm getting into like the random old ones that I just haven't gotten rid of.
Oh man, that paid off so well. I just wanted to needle you about underwear. I thought it was funny. I'm so happy it led to that moment. We can stop. We could just forget the rest of our comments. That's it.
Yeah, and this is just turning into a MeUndies versus Mack Weldon attack ad.
Like, what can I bully Cooper into revealing about his life? Speaking of the trailer, you brought that up. The line, "I'm like the Crypt Keeper," which is
that's a great line.
Yeah, so good, so well done, and like I feel like that trailer was on like. I think I saw that it was in front of like every SpongeBob episode, in front of I remember seeing that like every 15 minutes watching TV after school. And weirdly, that was like the only thing I remembered from this movie when going into it. And I'm really happy that it really like lived up to it.
No, it was really funny. Jamie Lee Curtis is super funny. I mean, she does mostly comedies, right? What dramas? True Lies? But True Lies is kind of like a weird middle space.
I mean, I don't. Oh, okay, so I wouldn't say I'm an expert on Jamie Lee Curtis, but I think she did a weirdly. For someone who I can't name that many movies she's been in, I think she's had a huge effect on the culture. I mean,
she's
Halloween.
in Trading Places.
Halloween is the biggest one.
Right, you're right. She's in a lot of non-comedies because she's in all like a bunch of Halloween movies.
Right, but the thing is, she's not. I think she's only in like 1 and 2
and then
in the first run, and then Halloween's this weird thing where they reboot it every once in a while.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Halloween 2s.
I guess she's like the iconic Scream queen.
Yeah, they brought her back for the
about.
current series, which is the David Gordon Green directed ones, and their whole. If I remember correctly, I haven't seen any of the new ones, but the whole thing was they're bringing back Laurie Strode, and she's going to be less of a Scream queen, more of like a, like there's all these promo photos of her like holding a shotgun, like she's on the hunt, and I think that's a role that Jamie Lee Curtis has really settled into, which I think is kind of fun. Mm-hmm. She's in Trading Places, which I think is very good, and she's very good.
She's very good in that.
True Lies. Well, I can't say. I think Blue Steel.
Blue Steel is a weird movie.
Yeah, but she's in that.
So maybe she isn't mostly in comedies. Maybe I was just thinking of her in this and Trading Places.
Yeah,
Blue Steel is a very strange movie.
That's Catherine Bigelow, one of her first movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if she was known as a comedy person. I do think that the response to her in this movie was very much, holy freaking shit, Jamie Lee Curtis has got comedy chops like out the wazoo.
Oh yeah, she's great.
I think there was like such a huge response, and that was awesome.
One small moment that is not a knock on Jamie Lee Curtis, but I found it funny, is that I like how they found an excuse for her to go from one haircut to the Jamie Lee Curtis haircut as part of the makeover. It's like midway through filming, Jamie Lee Curtis is like, I'm not going to wear this wig anymore, guys. Like, figure out a way.
Yeah. That whole sequence. I mean, just speaking of the insane twist that happened in this movie, I was thinking about this because like I feel like we talk about comedies now, and I feel like we're in this improv era where comedies are like concepts, but mostly like just setups for funny people.
Yeah,
like
a post Will Ferrell world.
Right. I mean, I'm thinking of like I was thinking about the Ghostbusters, not the new one, but the Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy one. And that one very much is like just kind of hanging out and bouncing ideas off each other, and like not very plotted. Even something like that, which is more of a tentpole, even, and obviously the whole Apatow, everything is like that.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like Freaky Friday is this thing that we've kind of lost of a movie that's like very, very plotted.
Yeah.
It has a lot of like fun little screwball comedy reveals and reversals and things like that.
Yeah. I guess if you don't know what we're talking about, it's kind of this comedy style of you basically get two improv actors and you have your scene as written, but they basically just keep on recording alt jokes until they come up with one they like the best, and they just use that. Right.
And it leads to movies that are very straightforward, like narratively, which is fine. And then it often leads to some really freaking funny movies.
Yeah. But then you do lose this kind of tightly plotted comedy sometimes.
Right. And Freaky Friday has...
it's kind of like how Lil Wayne records rap, where you just stick Lil Wayne in a booth and he just says shit for like 20 minutes and you cut a 2-minute song out of it.
That's exactly what it's like. Freaky Friday. I mean, I just want to like call attention to how many great curveballs. I mean, Stanfield from Sex and the City as the like high maintenance.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Like therapy person.
Also, Chad Michael Murray falling in love with Jamie Lee Curtis was really, really funny.
It's so good. Like the date they go on, where they're just talking about like the hives and shit, is so funny.
Yeah, and then she doesn't realize it's a date till halfway through, and then you see it dawn on her face what's going on.
Yeah, and the like the TV show, like the reveal that she has to go on a TV show and talk about her
is super crazy out of nowhere.
I know, but it's such a good bit, and it like has such a good payoff when she sees it, and like all the stuff with the younger brother, like where like it reveals that the younger brother actually really looks up to Lindsay Lohan.
That was a really nice scene too. Yeah,
I mean the movie just is like, it's very, very hard to do, like all these different setups and payoffs.
Yeah,
doing the highbrow lowbrow of it again, like that, a movie that's willing to like set up all that, do those setup payoffs, and work within the structure of like a classic studio comedy, even though that sort of thing that doesn't like exist anymore, more lowbrow, but that makes it really effective. Whereas I don't know, Being John Malkovich, also really tight screenplay, but kind of in a different way.
And there are some kind of lowbrow moments in it.
Oh yeah, I mean a lot of like very silly jokes, a lot of like just
like the secretary who just mishears things all the time.
Right, which, oh my god, so funny. The Dr. Lester.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, and just the idea of of a office building on the 7.5
Oh yeah, the
floor.
half floor. There's no reason for that to be true.
Oh, it's for the.
It's just funny.
It's because the portal is there. It's like
Yeah, but the portal could just be in a regular floor.
I guess I always interpreted it as for some reason they had to build the building on the portal, but like the portal is why everything was shorter.
Was the portal the exact height of the ceiling?
Yeah, I think so.
No, it's not because you're
right. They have to
drops
crouch
it
down
on a cabinet.
You're right. They have to crouch down even then. Yeah. I don't know. I always thought it had something to do with that. But I guess even Dr. Lester, who I guess that's not his real name, mentions that he just discovered it. And he doesn't know it.
And then they do have that informational video, but then Maxine immediately says it's not real. Although she wouldn't know that one way or the other.
Right. I think she's just kind of talking shit.
Yeah.
Which is true to her character. She's constantly talking shit.
Yeah.
So here's a question, just because I have it in my notes and it might lead to good discussion. We're podcasting here. Do you think this movie is like misanthropic? And B, do you like see a problem with that?
I think it is pretty misanthropic. Well, the way Craig's character just turns bad so fast and so aggressively and without any redemption, it does seem like, but maybe it's just about, it's a movie about this one person who is a bad person, but you wouldn't know it because he's not strong enough to exert his power over other people.
Yeah. I think, and it's not just that. Remember, Maxine obviously is very destructive.
And Lester's very destructive.
And even Lottie, I think, is like, lies to Craig and is cheating on him using quote marks. And obviously, I think Craig is by far the worst person here.
And also, she does that only after she realizes that he has this weird emotional relationship with his coworker, right?
Right. I mean, she, I think, is keying into his shittiness and like she's coming out with open eyes.
Yeah, because their relationship feels like it's ending already.
Yeah. I think
Although I would be so out of that relationship just because there's a chimp in the house and I want my face to remain attached to my body. Chimps only rip off people's faces. Every time when she was in the cage with the chimp was kissing her mouth. I was so scared for Cameron Diaz, the actual actress.
Yeah, I mean, it's in terms of the misanthropy of it all.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, okay, wait, no, I want to give you credit. Chimps are scary as shit.
Yeah, no, it's like you think a chimp's going to be cool. You buy a chimp. Years go by. You're friends with the chimp. Then one day you're like, hey, here's a birthday cake, and then it rips off your face.
Yeah, no, that's how chimps work.
Yeah.
They rip off your face at the moment of maximum emotional impact.
Yeah, they're very smart that way.
Yeah, that's why we share a common ancestor.
The ultimate tool that they can use is heartbreak.
Highbrow, lowbrow chimp movies? And any Planet of the Apes is lowbrow. Is there a highbrow chimp movie? Oh. Is this it? Do we have to do this again?
I'm trying to...
Should we stop talking about this movie so we can talk about it again in a month?
No, there's got to be one. There's got to be one.
I mean, there's a good scene with a bunch of chimps
the Diane Fossey movie?
Oh, I mean, it's gorillas, not chimps.
Gorillas in the Mist?
Gorillas in the Mist.
I mean, it's so close.
I know, you almost had it. It was right there.
It is Diane Fossey, right? Am I saying it right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The only thing, there's like the documentary Project Nim about chimpanzees.
Yeah.
But we can't just do a doc. I mean, I know our listeners are just dying for a chimp episode.
Yeah.
Because of all this chimp talk. All this deeply
Welcome
compelling
back to chimp talk.
Is this our pivot? Is this what's going to blow up? Because there's
we got does Harry and the Hendersons count? Is that close enough? Missing Link?
I don't know. Oh, Missing Link's good.
Can we do Bigfoot movies as half episodes because it's kind of half? It's the Missing Link. It's half man, half chimp.
I would love that. I'd love to talk about Missing Link. I love to talk about any Leica movie.
Sure,
honestly. They're all freaking fantastic. I don't know how.
Is Kubo highbrow?
I mean, it's animated kids movie, so it could be lowbrow, but it's also
the animation style is highbrow.
Oh, absolutely, and I think Leica in general is always trying to do more interesting things. I mean, you could, I would say, compared to say
Kubo
Shark's Tale
or Wallace and Gromit.
Oh, I would that'd be fun claymation, highbrow, lowbrow.
Yeah,
I would do that.
Yeah.
I
love Wallace and Gromit so much.
Wallace and Gromit is great.
Have you the little poster? It says, "Have you seen this chicken?" And it's very obviously a penguin with a rubber glove on its head. Is one of the better jokes that has ever been made visually.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. I did have a thought.
Okay. But why? First of all,
I don't.
Who told you you could have a thought?
I don't have thoughts often, Josh. Let me have it.
Okay, go on.
It's more of a premise. It's not really a thought. Freaky Friday. Is there a highbrow? Is this movie highbrow in any way?
Freaky Friday. I would say no, but that's only just by the very like pretty our own kind of definitions. I mean, I think it is punching above its weight.
It never really asks the philosophical question of what does it mean? Because in Being John Malkovich, like right out the gate, he comes out of the tunnel. He says, "Does this mean we have souls?" This has a lot of philosophical implications, and they mostly ignore that, but they definitely bring it up immediately.
Yes.
Freaky Friday, Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are never concerned with the fact that they appear to have found proof that there is a soul.
I mean, they're
and
concerned
that there is magic.
Right, they're more concerned because they have like tests to take and marriages to conduct.
They have proof that there is magic.
Right.
That should be a bigger thing. The sequel should be them like they're back in their bodies the day after the wedding, and they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, we just found out there's magic."
Yeah, I would say for the reason just described that they don't really grapple with that. And I don't see a lot of highbrow moments, but again, it's not because it's not good, and because I actually think the moments of like drama and emotional connection in this movie are so well done.
Yeah.
That like I guess you could read that as highbrow in some ways, but I don't think. I think that's very much within the structure of this kind of studio comedy.
Yeah. I would say maybe the one kind of highbrow thing is that it is dealing with aging in an interesting way. Like,
How so?
well, I mean, there's a lot of bits just about how Jamie Lee Curtis enjoying being in a young person's body and then the horror of being in an old person's body. But then also Jamie Lee Curtis is a psychiatrist who's writing about aging.
Oh, that's true.
And then also, actually, when I first saw the book, it was kind of a misreading. It's called Senescence in Retrograde, or Through the Looking Glass, Senescence in Retrograde. And I misread senescence. I was thinking senility. So I was thinking, and then her dad appears to be has like early signs of dementia. So I thought she was writing a book about dementia, and then her dad has dementia. And I was like, this is very dark for what's going on in this movie. It's really in the background. And then it just turned out I didn't know what that word meant.
Right. Senescence is just becoming
old
at
at
all.
all,
Oh,
not
okay.
senility.
Right. Yeah. Different thing. You basically thought that this was the plot of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, except with body swapping.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that would
But
be
it is
interesting.
dealing with aging because it does have the third generation who is also there.
Yes. Although I think that, I think that's a good take.
It's more of an undercurrent, but
Right. I think I didn't see that there as much, but I do see, I mean, I'm sure it was thought of, but I do think for me, it was a lot more of like using just all that setup for more like jokes and human story. Like for Freaky Friday, it's all driving the plot.
Yeah, for
whereas
sure.
obviously, something like Being John Malkovich will stop the whole movie so that like Craig can puppeteer John Malkovich doing this like interpretive dance.
which was a good dance.
Oh yeah, no, very good.
Interpretive dance is not really a genre of dance. There's like
Speak
there's
on this.
contemporary dance, there's modern dance. Interpretive dance is kind of often used as a joke making fun of contemporary dance, but it's not really a genre of dance.
I did not know that because I know zero things about dance.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about dancing.
Yeah.
I know that it is a thing.
Oh, like how to do it well?
How to do it well? No. How to do it at all? Also no. But I dance as like an art form. Absolutely fucking nothing. All I know is I've seen the movie The Red Shoes, and there are dancers in that.
Yeah, I know just enough about dance to get myself in trouble by saying the wrong thing sometimes. So we might have to fact check what I just said about interpretive dance.
That's okay. I mean, this has become the episode of all of our like hot cancelable takes. So like now's your chance. If you want to drop some piping hot dance stuff, go for it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say hot.
Charles
dance
Atlas was a mass murderer.
That's a hot take.
Yeah,
I
have the proof.
You do.
Yeah, Merce Cunningham
I don't know what you're
killed
saying.
my father.
I don't know what you're saying, or if these are hot takes. I think I'm just gonna bleep it all out of like just abundance of caution. Or unless these are like really great like deep cut dance jokes, in which case
Those are very famous choreographers who are very good.
Okay, I know of Charles Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Merce Cunningham is also one.
Okay, I know who Martha Graham is.
Martha Graham, yeah.
I've heard of her.
Good poll.
Because a dance of hers was an inspiration for a character in Steven Universe.
Oh, neat.
Which is a good show, which you should watch. You being the audience, and Cooper if you want.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to get into? I think we talked about Jamie Lee Curtis, or the cast of Freaky Friday is so great. I want to also give a nice little shout out to Stephen Tobolowsky as the teacher.
He was so good. The moment where he gets destroyed was great.
You know that he's like an all-time great character actor.
Yeah, it's not a big role for him. He has a lot of other roles in movies that he gets a lot more to do. He's very fun, but he does a lot with what he has.
Oh yeah, and that's him. I mean, I saw him speak at the LA Festival of Books. He has a selection of just like essays and short stories about his life. And he just seems like a good dude. I mean, he spoke about his dog. He had like a very, very heartwarming essay.
Oh, that's nice.
And kind of heartbreaking essay about his dog, because all dog stories are sad.
Because they don't live as long as us.
Yeah, it's the
That's why all parrot stories are happy, because they usually outlive you.
And because parrots are terrible screechy creatures.
The one time I met a parrot, he was very friendly. He played with my watch. I was at this party it was a birthday party for like a minor celebrity's brother that I got invited to because a girl I was seeing got invited to it, and I was just along for the ride. And it was at this mansion deep in the Beverly Hills, and in the backyard there were just 5 parrot cages everywhere. So all these drunk people were just playing with the parrots. So I just reached into a cage and took out a parrot and was playing with it while pretty hammered, and it was very fun. The parrot was nice. And then I put it back in the cage, and this drunk girl tried to get the talk for about 20 minutes, and I found that very entertaining.
I once saw a parrot eat an omelet.
What?
In Venice. I was just walking around, and there was a guy on an outdoor cafe
Did
eating
it order
an omelet.
the omelet?
No, it was a man. I really wish the parrot was. It was just a man sitting by himself at an outdoor cafe with a parrot sitting on his chair, and the parrot would like lean over and eat little pieces of the omelet, while the man was also eating the omelet with his fork.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love that story.
Yeah, that's actually paints a better picture of parrots than when I was.
Yeah,
I came. It seems
they're
like
wonderful creatures.
I feel like I came an anti-parrot. I knew of one bad parrot.
When parrots go bad tonight on 2020.
It's a friend of my sister's we were visiting, and he just like giant cage take up most of his small apartment in DC area, and it was just a parrot that was just screeching and constantly gnawing at the bars, and apparently it just hates everyone except him, and he just had to take care of the parrot because no one else in his family wanted to, and it was super sad because it was a shitty parrot.
Oh yeah, that's like it's a parakeet story, and I think parakeets are by their nature worse parrots.
This is Bird Talk with Cooper and Josh.
Yeah, who knew that this would lead into a like 5 to 10 minute long discussion of all of our parrot stories we have.
This has been because I feel like we came to this episode, we were both kind of like, I mean, like these are movies we know really well, that everyone knows really well. We're just fucking all over the place, and like, there's something in the water.
My cousins had a little parakeet named Kiwi, and it just hated the human race. And I think one time it was my cousin Katie's parrot, and she was out away or something, and my other cousin Spencer was taking care of it. So we had to open up the cage to, feed it. And Kiwi just flies out, latches onto his head, and starts pecking at the top of his head. So he's just running around screaming while this parrot is attached to his head trying to kill him.
Why are we talking about parrots? I forgot. Here's some other stuff we can talk about. Craig is a huge piece of shit in this movie.
Yeah.
The John Cusack character. I think super interesting though. I mean, I think it's very a little bit Joker-y, not as in like the Joker the characters in the movie Joker.
Oh, kind of like incel vibes.
Yeah, and I think it does that in a way like kind of before that archetype was like very well known in the culture. Obviously, 1999. I mean, I think Craig obviously is like he has these delusions of grandeur. He feels no disrespected. He's obviously obsessed with Maxine. He thinks like this one woman's love will like make him.
Well, if he feels like he deserves things because he's a good person, but it's not that he's a good person. It's actually just that he's ineffectual.
Right. He's not like...
He's just not malicious because he's meek.
Right. I mean, he starts the movie as, you're on his side because he gets punched in the face. That's like the only real reason.
But then I'm not on his side because obviously you shouldn't do that bit on a New York City street. That's stupid. And especially when Cameron Diaz says this happened again. So obviously he should have learned this lesson already.
So that's what's interesting. Is there ever a time when you were like really like feeling for Craig? Because I'm thinking back on it. I remember the movie as a kid. I remember being a little more like he's, like not great, but he's just kind of goofy and weird. And I'm looking back on it. He's just kind of pathetic and bad. I think there's a lot less there to hold on. There's a lot there to understand and sympathize with.
Yeah, I think the one thing that makes made me on his side at all is that he does appear to really be an artist who is really invested in mastering his art form and appears to be good at it.
Yeah.
And as a person who also does creative things, I appreciate that. And I also appreciate the sense of not being recognized for it.
Yeah.
But then obviously he's a monster.
Right. And even then, so I think the movie here has this really economical opening where you very quickly, it's the puppet. He wakes up, his wife, Lottie's like, maybe you should get a job, or like a normal job. And, you're very quickly in on this guy and what he is. And there's the scene where she asks him if he wants to have kids. And he just kind of like does that shitty non-answer that like pushes it off.
Yeah. Although, yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
They really just shouldn't be together.
Right. I mean, it's this thing of, cause I thought about it again. There's a scene where Lottie comes into work and like, I want to do it again. And like throwing all of her, like everything she's doing with him really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And on the one hand, he's being a huge piece of shit and trying to shut her down and lie to her.
Yeah.
But also, she's coming into his work and yelling at him about like John Malkovich stuff. Like she's right to have done that, but she's kind of like accidentally ended up in the right place.
Yeah.
Although, like, I mean, again, if you're assigning blame, it's like 90% Craig being a huge piece of shit.
Yeah, he just sucks.
But in ways that are interesting. Like he's horribly punished for it in this movie, and he's like it's like a Greek tragedy. He's like trapped by his own like thing. Like he got there because he was so obsessed with Maxine and what that meant to him. So now he's cursed to always like look at her.
Yeah.
His last line of the movie is when
look away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so fucking dark.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I first saw this movie in middle school. My friend brought over his Xbox, like an Xbox. And because it was a cool thing that he had, and we played Halo for like 3 hours, and we were like, bored, like, what should we do? Like, well, I have.
You turned it on to play Halo, and you realized that he had left the John Malkovich DVD in there, and you were like, shit.
No, I had a Netflix, like disc Netflix.
Oh yeah.
And I think the only movie I had that was mine, because we split it with the family, and I was constantly saying it back, was Being John Malkovich, and I was like, oh, I heard this kind of like a goofy comedy, and then like it fucking ruined the sleepover. I mean, it was fine. Like we ended up just like spending the whole night being like, God, that was such a sad, depressing, dark movie. And we're like, yeah, and like this was not one of my film friends. It was one of my closest friends at the time, but like not someone who I went to artsy movies with.
That's really funny.
Yeah, it's like that was like the definition of like, don't let the film guy pick the movie. I think I've hit most of the stuff I want to talk about these movies. It's weird. I will say this. Going into this episode, I really thought there was going to be more connections between these two. And I think they're really, it kind of just shows what's interesting about the highbrow, lowbrow like lens is that they're doing such different things with concepts that could overlap a little more, and even in what themes they're interested in, what emotional moments they're interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I do think a big part of it might be the thing that there is no actual swap in Malkovich, but it is still the same core conceit, which is that you're going to another person's body. I mean, they have a lot of similarities, but they're on kind of more thematic levels where it's kind of about being unhappy in your body. Although, actually, interestingly, Freaky Friday, they're never unhappy in their bodies. They're only unhappy when they're not in their bodies. Right. But it is about dissatisfaction with the body you are in, whether it is the one you've been swapped into or not.
Yeah.
And then also the freedom that you get when you change into a body and being trapped in a body. Because in Freaky Friday, they are trapped in bodies, but only for the duration of the movie.
Right. It's almost like the inverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because, it's funny because Freaky Friday is kind of like a joyful exploration of body swaps, because at first they are both very well. And also, the other really funny thing about Freaky Friday is that the person who's having fun is the young person that goes in the old person's body.
Oh, you're right.
You would think that it would be the other way around, that it'd be Jamie Lee Curtis being, oh my God, I'm finally young. I can do these things. But she's the one that has a tough time in high school and has to overcome a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, Lohan is just enjoying being able to have a car and have credit cards and having a great time.
That's really brilliant, actually. Both your observation and the movie.
Yeah.
Not being facetious, I didn't think of that because, normally all these movies, it's like, 17 again or Big. It's always like, wouldn't it be great? Like, youth is wasted on the young. And in this one, she's just like, no, I liked being a grown woman. Being a grown woman is fucking great. I have this adoring, beautiful husband I'm about to marry. I've got 2 great kids, or 1 great kid, whichever, because she's mad at Lindsay Lohan at the time.
Yeah.
She's got this, she's a great therapist. She's about to go on a honeymoon. And she's like, this fucking sucks. You have to go to high school now.
She misses her own appearance on a talk show.
Yeah, which is huge. I think that's kind of really, really progressive about it. That
Yeah.
like it paints like being a single mother who like runs her own business and who's like in her early 40s as the more desirable thing to be.
Yeah. It is also that thing that you forget about when you're in high school, which is just the problem that you're not allowed to do so many things and you don't
Yeah.
have the means to do so many things.
Your world is smaller.
Yeah.
In a way, and which leads to things being easier, but also leads to things being really fucking frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, yeah, where she goes back to school and she doesn't realize that like nothing works the way she thought it does. Like she doesn't know math like she thought she did. Like the teachers sometimes do fucking hate you.
Yeah.
Sometimes that girl.
All
at
the
school
stuff with
really
that other
sucks.
girl. Yeah, that was very
It was
fun.
so funny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and just like everything, I don't know, all that shit was freaking great. You know, like trying to dress like who you think is cool, and just like, Mom, you cannot wear that. Oh, but you look so smart in this.
Yeah. She's like, okay, I'll grunge it down. She says, I'll drab it up.
And it's so good. I mean, I know it's like hacky's not the word, but like expected of like, oh, you know, like things aren't so easy for being a kid, not so easy being an adult, but like I think this movie, it all is in the execution with lowbrow, I think, and this
Yeah.
movie executes like freaking perfectly.
And sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution.
Yeah. Sometimes like, and that's the thing I've been thinking about, like, you know, decisions, you know, which movie does it better. I think Being John Malkovich is like a better movie, but it's not that.
I don't even
I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean,
I gave them both 5 stars.
I think I gave Freaky Friday 4, and I think this movie, I think
4.5,
4.5, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of like regretting both of those.
They're in such different lanes that
I
it's
know.
so hard to compare them directly.
And I don't think that either film
Which
fails.
is such a it's such a
Insane.
funny thing to say on this podcast. Like, yeah, it's really difficult to compare these two movies. It's too bad that we set ourselves up for this.
Right. We might as well call this podcast like Apples and Oranges, the podcast. And here we are just fretting about these apples and oranges we have to compare. I don't think either of these movies like fails the subject matter. I think both
No.
of them like come at them from different ways, affect them in different ways, like do different things, and absolutely fucking kill.
Yeah.
Unironically, not just the meme, I have no notes on either of these movies.
Yeah. And it might just be that they do have different, fundamentally, they're both about body swaps, but they do have different themes. It's like Freaky Friday's theme is kind of about age. I think it really is about aging and how when you're young, you desperately want to be old. And when you're old, you forget what it's like to be young. And just the impossibility of understanding what it is like to be in someone else's head until you're shoved in there.
Yeah. It's about empathy.
Yeah.
And I think that's really special. You know, I think it's a theme.
And
You know,
John Malkovich is not really about empathy at all.
no, I think if anything, John Malkovich, the movie Being John Malkovich, the man, is about fine acting.
John Malkovich, the man, is about empathy because he's an actor. Actors need empathy.
Right. I know nothing about John Malkovich, the man, except he seems cool. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
I think he's kind of playing a version of himself in this movie. I don't think
I don't think.
he's really like that.
Right.
Or maybe he's some version of that. But it's a heightened version.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has like kids, and obviously in real life, and not in the movie. And one of the many differences between the character and the actor.
The only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely forgot what I was saying. Do you
Time to play a game?
Want to play a game? Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do it. If I think of the thing I was going to say, I'll stop the game. So I got So for those of you, if this is your first episode, thanks for joining us. But we like to end with a little quiz. One of us will pick a list we find online that fits the theme. The other one will try and guess the movies on that list. So I found comingsoon.net's 7 best John Malkovich movies.
Oh no, Josh, why are you doing that? I'm not great at these games as it is, and I don't know.
That's okay. So
right.
I will say
John Malkovich must be on this list.
Yes, that's the first one.
Cool.
Right off the bat, obviously, I do think Being John Malkovich is the best John Malkovich movie.
Yeah, because he's known for stage more.
I just think a lot of his movies. I don't want to like spoil too much what this is, but he's done a lot of. I guess think a lot of his movies are like well remembered for the time, but he isn't. I think this is the one that's like become a classic. Whereas I think some of his other performances, which are also great, and other movies that are also good, are more like well remembered.
Yeah.
You know, tier 2 on Netflix than like the ones you go to at first.
Okay.
But we'll get into it because these are fun movies. So I will say, so that's one. You got 6 more to go.
Okay.
Some of these are really tough, and for those ones, I'm gonna just like we're gonna fucking blaze through 'em. I'm not gonna wait for you to catch up.
If I falter for a second, just give me a hint.
Okay, so here we go. This next movie, it came out in the 2000s, so
Okay.
between 2000 and 2010.
Yep.
It is a satire, like a Bush era satire of Washington D.C. With a big ensemble cast.
Is he in The Loop? No, In the Loop
No,
is British.
no, but that is
Up
sort
in
of the
the Air?
vibe
No.
of again same sort of vibe you're looking. Well, maybe not Up in the Air as much, but In the Loop is kind of what it's going for. Although this is, I think, a little bit sillier.
Okay.
It is filmmaker, like very well known auteur filmmakers behind this one. It is. I'm gonna start naming some cast members, but I'm gonna go on like
Okay.
because like the obvious ones are good. So like Richard Jenkins is in this movie.
Okay.
Tilda Swinton's in this movie.
What the hell is this?
Frances McDormand is in this movie.
I mean, this feels like a Coen Brothers movie.
It is a Coen Brothers movie.
Okay.
It is the movie that came out right after No Country. It was 2008. Brad Pitt is in this movie. I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
It's Burn After Reading.
Oh, fuck. I forgot about that movie.
I know.
That movie is really funny. The scene where... Spoilers, I don't care.
I'm going to bleep that out because I think that's such a great thing if you don't see it's coming.
Okay.
The thing you're referring to, which it will have been bleeped at this point.
Yeah.
It's so great. I think, and Malkovich especially is so
He's
fucking
very
funny.
good.
The way he pronounced memoirs.
Oh, yeah. Man, I really forgot about the existence of that movie.
I caught it on Stars, I think, the other day.
Oh, yeah? Is it good?
I will say, if you just pop into it halfway through, it's so like funny and weird and dark that like it really works. I don't know how it would work being an end. There are some like film critics who like really ride for it now though.
Okay.
Okay, next one. Movie came out in the 90s. It is a big dumb 1990s action movie that we have watched together in the past.
Is this Armageddon? Is he in that?
No, but
That's not 90s.
that is 90s.
That is 90s?
That's 98. This movie is also in the 90s. But that's like that's the moment of the kind of action movies you're looking for. It's not a Michael Bay movie, but it like totally could have been a Michael Bay movie.
I'm not going to get any of these movies. This is going to be embarrassing. Okay.
The star of this movie is known for being really, really weird and giving big, weird performances.
Okay, it's a Nick Cage movie.
It is. And this is part of his run. He did 3 action movies right after winning an Oscar, like back to back to back. And this is one of them.
Okay, is it like no, it's 90s. So it's, oh my God. God damn it. Jesus Christ.
It's not, okay, so I'll give you, it's not The Rock.
Nick Cage is in that?
The Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen The Rock.
Oh, yeah, he's great. He's Stanley Goodspeed. And it's not Face Off.
Okay.
So it's the other of the 3. What I see is the trilogy of great Nick
Con Air.
It's Con Air. Thank you.
Oh my God.
I love Con Air.
We
so
have
much.
watched that movie together. Did we watch the entire movie together?
I think
though?
we did. I think we caught it on like TV. When we had 1
Yeah.
year we had TV.
Yeah. Right. What is this fancy new box we have?
Like the only time I've ever had like TV channels.
Yeah.
Where I've lived.
Oh man.
I love Con
Oh yeah,
Air.
because he's like a serial killer.
He's
in that.
Cyrus the Virus.
Oh my God.
The bad guy.
So bad.
Oh, Con Air is so good.
I just remember the end. I don't remember that movie very well.
They crashed the plane into the Las Vegas Strip.
I think that's the only part of that movie we watched.
No, I think because I know we saw the scene in the trash yard where they have that big firefight. Because we got to the line where because Cyrus is a great
virus.
Malkovich moment,
Yeah.
where he's like laying out in like the ground okay, so like this can is got to be the police, this stick is us, and like that one of the villains goes like, oh, and what's that rock? He says, it's a rock, and he kicks it away.
That's very funny.
It's great, and imagine how good it is when Malkovich says it, not my dumbass.
That's like that joke in I forget which Bond movie it is where Q's showing him all the gadgets. He goes, and what's this one? He's like, oh, that's my lunch. And it's just a sandwich.
Yeah, that feels like a John Cleese Q moment.
Yeah. I think it must be GoldenEye or something.
That feels, or I mean,
one of the lesser ones. Yeah.
Next one, this one you might not get. I'll go fast. 1987, directed by Steven Spielberg. Not a movie you would think of as the first 20 movies Steven Spielberg has directed.
Oh, great.
It is a wartime drama set in Japan.
Wartime drama set.
Starring Christian Bale, who is at this time quite young.
It's not like... No.
I feel like you might either know or you don't. You want me to go ahead and...
Yeah, just do it.
Empire of the Sun.
Oh, I've read that book.
If I had known that, I would have... I mean, I'm literally inches away from your bookshelf right now. If I'd seen it...
It might be on there.
If I'd seen it, I would have brought that up.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Also a hard one. We'll go fast. Prestige, period drama, won a lot of Oscars, starring Sam Waterston, 1984.
Okay.
It is about Cambodia.
It's about Cambodia?
Yes. It is about a bad thing that happened in Cambodia.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm not going to get the title.
Oh, The Killing Fields.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just those are just like the two like very Oscar-y.
Yeah.
Like
No, I've heard that title. I have seen almost none of these movies.
we've got two more.
God damn
I think you might get.
I really need to get one of these.
It's okay. Movie came out in 1988. It is a prestige period piece drama. They're all wearing very fancy like dresses and wigs
Okay.
and stuff.
88. Yeah.
It is based on a play of the same name. It was remade into about 10 years later, it was remade into like a teen movie that you like quite a bit.
Oh, is it A Midsummer Night's Dream? No, not Midsummer Night's Dream. Wait, 10 Things... Taming the Shrew.
No, not Shakespeare. The play came out in the 80s.
Oh,
and
God
it was
damn
very
it.
quickly adapted.
Play came out in the 80s? Oh, I don't know.
The movie, the teen movie, is Cruel Intentions.
Oh, Dangerous Liaisons?
Yes, Dangerous
Okay.
Liaisons. Yeah, it's
Liaisons.
him, Glenn Close, and...
I didn't realize that was a play.
Yeah, Liaisons Dangereuses.
Ooh, fancy.
Last one, I will say this. You do not think of John Malkovich as in this movie very
good.
much. I was very surprised to see this one on there.
Okay.
He's not one of like the top like 5 actors I think of. This is not a super well-remembered movie, but I like it a lot.
Okay.
Came out in 2005. It is based on a classic sci-fi book. It is a comedy.
It's a comedy based on a classic sci-fi book?
Mm-hmm. It stars, one of the stars is a famous rapper. It also stars...
Wait, is Ice Cube in this?
It is
No.
not Ice Cube.
Okay.
I would not... I try to avoid Ice Cube things because Ice Cube tries to avoid me. It's very... the book is known for having a very dry British sense of humor.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the
It is
Galaxy?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the
Okay.
Galaxy, yeah.
Mm.
I completely
Who
forgot.
is he in that?
He's the bad guy. He's like... So Zaphod... He's running against Zaphod
Yeah.
in like the... presidential election or whatever. His
Oh.
character looks really weird. He's like, you see, if I remember the joke correctly, you see like he's sitting behind a table and you think he's got like a normal
Oh,
bottom
yeah,
half.
Mos Def is in that movie.
Yes, that's the rapper.
Right.
And he's just got like little tiny legs on the bottom of his torso.
Oh,
And,
that's very funny.
And he's kind of like, but like I forgot he's in this.
That's a movie that has a lot of really funny bits in it.
Yeah.
And it's got Alan Rickman as the robot, who's great.
Marvin. And,
Marvin the Depressed Robot.
And Bill Nye is like the guy who creates the world.
It has that one scene where they're in that field, and then whenever they say there's some trigger that if they say something, a little fly swatter will hit them in the face, and it's the funniest thing in the world.
I think that movie gets a bad rap because I think fans of the book were like, oh, this is, it's so not that. But like, speaking of highbrow, lowbrow, I think it does a really good job of like getting a lot of the jokes of that book through, a lot of the vibe of that book. The story obviously is not quite as irreverent or dark, but like,
I think that would be kind of that's a difficult book to adapt.
Because it's so like all the jokes are in the like descriptions.
Yeah.
And I think they do a good job of having the voiceover do that.
It's kind of like how I never saw Good Omens, but I imagine Terry Pratchett would be very hard to adapt.
Yeah.
For that same reason.
Good Omens, the show, I think also is I think a very good equivalent because I think that book is like tremendous.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books ever. I think that show gets kind of the fun vibes across, but maybe, I don't know. I mean, you can't hold the show against the show that didn't have an all-time great book.
Some stories are meant to be told as books. Some of them are meant to be told as movies.
But if you can tell the book story as a movie and it's pretty good,
Yeah.
let's not
Good
complain
job.
about it.
Yeah.
Let's all calm the fuck down, everybody.
Yeah.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is good. It is a great book. It is a good movie that apparently stars John Malkovich.
Great.
That was good. Didn't take too long.
Yeah, because I didn't know any of them. But hopefully I'll do better next time.
Well, that's what I didn't want to get into before, but like Malkovich's filmography is a lot of like good performances and good movies, but a lot of like action movies where he's the bad guy. Like In the Line of Fire is a very well-known movie of his, and like, or a lot of the dramas he did in the 80s are more well-known for being like Oscar-y dramas, are kind of less remembered now. Like, I don't know anyone who's seen The Killing Fields.
Yeah. Yeah, because it is kind of Oscar baity movies tend to get forgotten unless
they really...
they're really special for some reason.
Right, unless they like really hit that next level. Like, like Out of Africa, I think everyone has heard of it. I could not tell you what that movie's about, and I am obsessed with the Oscars. And
Yeah, I'm
with
surprised.
movies.
Did that win Best Picture?
It did, yeah.
Have you not seen every Best Picture
No,
winner?
I used to. I can name them all back to like the 40s.
Oh,
I
okay.
used to be.
I guess there are a lot of them, but
Yeah, and
it
a lot
feels
of
like
them are
something
long
you'd
and
do.
boring. I don't know. I mean, I would not be opposed to seeing them, but like if there was a period in high school where I would watch like a movie a day, just on Netflix, sending them back, and like if I didn't see the movie during that like period, and I was churning them out. Now I don't have as much time because I'm 30.
Yeah.
So it takes so much to get me to sit down and watch something.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it's tough. But although, if we could draw from the lesson of the movie we saw, being old is good.
Yeah,
And
can't
Freaky
wait.
Friday. I think that's probably not the plot of the movie Old, though, right? That
No, I
being
think
old is
being
good?
old is bad in old.
We could do Old. I think we've talked about doing Old.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's do
Versus
some
Old Boy.
Old versus Old Boy. I don't know what the connecting factor would be at all.
The word old. Brought to you by the word old.
I would love to talk about Old Boy.
Yeah. I mean, you do Old Boy versus Old Boy.
Yeah.
Although I don't think either one's highbrow.
There's got to be a highbrow revenge movie that we could do.
Yeah.
Old Boy would be just fascinating. I think it's also just fucking bug nuts, gross.
And a movie I've never seen, but I've heard about it so much, I basically know the movie.
I think you would appreciate the experience of watching it. I don't know if you would like it because it's crazy.
I think I would.
It's a good movie.
I haven't avoided it.
Yeah. Although I know your whole thing about Korean movies that they can be kind of too heightened and the tone can be all over the place.
Yeah.
This is like the apex of that.
Oh, great.
It's going to be just like every emotion is played at 11. It's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do some Rex and get on out of here.
Oh, Rex, you go first.
This is fun. It's turning into we're naturally evolving a bit where you just don't
where
have
I don't know.
recommendation.
Yeah, where I don't prepare for the podcast. I prepared in other ways. I'm just gonna look at my bookshelf for stuff. Oh, I thought of one.
Okay. All
It's
right.
Fade Out. It's
Okay.
a comic set in the 40s in LA about a writer who's in the studio system, and it's a classic noir story. And it's really good.
That sounds like my soul. Like I
Yeah, I think I'm
going
gonna actually give it to you to take home.
If you could,
when we're done here.
I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I love comic books and anything about old Hollywood and noir shit. I mean, shit, my rec it should just be that.
Sight unseen. Sight unseen. Fade Out.
Yeah. So my recommendation, I am going to recommend the show Insecure. I'm watching it.
Nice array.
Yes. Me and I'm watching it now. Jess is rewatching it with me. And it's part of our trade. We're doing Mr. Robot. I'm rewatching. She's watching for the first time. And it's Insecure is really good. I think for a while, when it came out, there was the whole thing was oh, it's basically girls, but it's black women in Los Angeles instead of white ladies in New York. Mm-hmm. And I was about to finish Girls, and I was thinking I just will finish this show. I don't need to watch the show again. And I was dumb to think that because Insecure is great and very different from Girls. I think.
Interesting.
Other than obviously the young women in a city.
Yeah.
I think that's undeniable. But I think Insecure is very. I think less mean than Girls is. I think it's much more serialized. I think it tells these very emotional stories in a way that's really compelling. Also, I think Issa Rae is really funny in it, and I think Lena Dunham's hilarious on Girls, but in a way that's just holy shit, this is so cringy. And I think Issa Rae is doing something much different. So don't be like me, the idiot who thought he didn't have to watch Insecure because he watched Girls.
I feel like you're talking directly to me now. I need to
watch them both, but specifically my recommendation is Insecure because I'm in the middle of season 2 and I'm just really freaking digging it.
Great. Love it.
And I think that's good. Any last thoughts?
Rate,
Any last notes?
review, subscribe.
Yeah. Oh shit! Normally I say it, but you got there. I
Scooped
forgot.
ya.
Yes, rate, review, and subscribe.
And
goodbye
bye forever.